Hi, welcome to my channel. Hey, welcome back to our demo on sketching forms with markers. Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to continue with this demo and we're going to show how to use this pencil. Now, we talked about how this pencil comes into play when we're sketching with markers. We're still going to use the number 3 and 5 marker technique. I'll bring these back in, but let's go ahead and pull this page out. Let's focus on how we use the pencil when we're doing marker sketching, okay? Oh, by the way, one of the things I haven't mentioned in my previous videos is whenever I'm drawing on when I'm sketching or drawing, I usually like to work on a drawing pad, like a marker pad, or in this case, I'll have pads of the exact same paper stacked up. I probably got about 10 or 15 sheets here. What that does is it gives me a nice smooth drawing surface and it won't telegraph what's underneath. In this case, it's this work pad, but you see what it does is just kind of soaks all that up and gives me a nice smooth drawing surface. Okay, so I recommend drawing on a pad. So let's go ahead and show how we use a pencil. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just a little bit so we can see what's happening. And I'm going to pick maybe just a couple forms here to demo on this video. And this is how I like to use a pencil. When I'm looking at a surface, let's say this kind of hourglass shape of almost like 2 double cones here, what I usually do with the pencil is to kind of better understand what's going on is I can also look at this profile, but if I want to have a better vision of what's happening with this profile as it's moving towards the center of the shape, I'll go ahead and draw a series of cross sections, and I can do the cross sections along the sides to show the arc of the ellipse. Okay, and you see what that does, it gives me a little bit of a guide with regards to how I'm going to stroke my marker. Okay, if I skip the shape and go to this spherical shape, which has a cutout, I can take a look at the cutout, and I can see the offset of the cutout. Now, that cutout can maybe have a crown, right? We really don't know that, but I'm thinking maybe a crown. And also, I use a cross-section line here to kind of help remind me that, hey, this is a sphere, so be mindful as you're starting to marker stroke this area, what and how should the taper of that stroke move as it's moving around the shape itself, okay? And sometimes it helps to come around the other side as well, okay? You see? See how drawing section lines help? Because this just gives me a better idea of where the thick and thins of the core shadow will go, all right? So that's how I use a pencil as I'm doing marker sketching of various forms. Okay, so now we have that down, let's go in and let's take our broad nib, as I always do, and again, let's go ahead and just be consistent with the light source. I'll have the light source coming from the same side, and we'll push ahead. So because this is a more of a narrow shape, I'll go ahead and rotate my marker so I have a little more control. And knowing the profile of the shape is conical, you see how I've kind of got a little bit of a taper going towards the center of the shape? Okay, and I'll do the same thing here, but just a little bit thinner. A little more control, all right? And then let's go ahead and skip over and let's take a look at this. Now, if you see what's happened is you're going to get a highlight right across this edge here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a big highlight. It's going to get cut off with this edge. And as I come around, okay, it's just like as if I was drawing a sphere. I'll come around and I'll rotate my marker to get a little more control. You see how the core is opposite of the highlight, so it's much heavier down here in the middle section right through here. I'll draw a little line. Okay, and as I come around, now remember that this is also a sphere, right? It's sort of a flatter sphere, but it's going to take on that same kind of a conical shape in the core shadow. All right. Now once we've got that done, remember how we did the other shapes in our previous demo, right? We drew the cores first, and then we come back in and we do it again, right? We come back in and strengthen that. Oops, sorry, I didn't get on the screen. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see that happening. Okay, so we'll come back in with the same marker to strengthen that, and then as soon as we strengthen that, we bring it right over towards the highlight. You see how you get two values? You get the core and then you get number 2 side. All right. And we'll come back over here and do the sphere at the same time. But this time, remember the technique we used? We used a scrubbing technique. So we'll strengthen the core and then we'll do a scrub. Same thing here, do a scrub. All right. And then what we'll do here is once we've gotten the general shape sculpted out, what we need to do now is come back over and finish off the faces. Now in this case, this one is fairly simple, so we'll just go ahead and do horizontal to the picture plane to create a gradient. And don't worry about the bleed. Leave the bleed in. That's okay. You're going to clean this up with some black line work. And then when we come back over here, we have to ask ourselves, well, exactly what's happening with this surface with regards to the light coming from the left side. My feeling is it's probably going to be much darker here because it's closer to being in shadow. And as it's angled out, it's actually going to expose itself a little more to the light. You see the angle? So usually I'll put my darker value on top, and then once that dries out, I'll do the same thing. Just go back one pass over, and then you go over again over the white, and that gives you the perfect value distribution. Okay. And then what I'll do here, just to get a little more contrast, I'm going to bring in the number 5. Remember we talked about the number 5 marker? Okay, this is a slightly darker marker, and to get more control, I'm going to go ahead and rather than use the broad nib, I'm going to use the bullet nose, and I'll come back in right in here, and that creates a bit of shadow. You see how that number 5? I need that to create the depth that I need for that shadow. And depending on, okay, again, this is personal preference, but depending on the surface detail that you have, you might want to go ahead and strengthen the core shadow down below. All right, you see how that's much stronger, much more contrast, and it actually tucks that surface away a little bit more. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to make this one a little darker. Okay. And that just strengthens our core. Now, remember to maintain that taper because that's really what's describing the shape. All right. And then to finish off the drawing, we'll go ahead and bring out our Sharpie. Okay. In this case, it's the Molotow pen. I'll go back in and strengthen the line weight here. And as I scoot my drawing down a little bit more, you'll see me strengthen the drawing back here. As we come over to this shape, again, I know it's dark, but just strengthen it one more time, line weight down there, and then right here opposite the highlight. Okay? And let those lines just taper upward. Okay? Now, it's a little too heavy for you. Go back in with your ultrafine Sharpie. This is the thin pen, and just allow those lines to taper back like a gradient. All right? And we'll go ahead and do the same thing on this side. Oops, got a little away from me there. Okay. And there you have it. So let's zoom out. So, and you see these drawings are much, much stronger than the previous ones. And it's because we went in with the number 5 marker. Okay. So just a little bit of strength to reinforce certain details like recessed details, cast shadows, maybe more complex forms, actually adds to the drawing. And again, don't forget all your line weights, and to slow down a little bit, use the pencil if need be to define what's happening with your surfaces so you have a better read, better understanding, and that's going to help you draw or render more complex surfaces and shapes. All right. Anyway, that concludes the demo, and I hope to see you soon at the next demo. Thanks for watching.